the introduction, and thanks to the honor guard. You look very nice. And thanks to Mr. Slack and you children for inviting me here today to give an opportunity to speak a little bit about what I do and why Remembrance Day is important. So, I am in the Army, and I'm in the part of the Army that's called the infantry. And the infantry are the soldiers who like to stay on the ground and hide in the forest and be sneaky. We don't like to be around tanks or things like that. I'm in the infantry. My rank is a chief warrant officer, and my job in the infantry unit that I'm with, the Governor General's Foot Guards, I'm the regimental sergeant major, which means that my job is to help the commanding officer, who's like the principal of the unit, make sure that everyone is doing their job and everything is running smoothly. That's what I do. What have I done in the past? I've been to 3 different countries that have been in trouble with fighting and bad people to help bring peace to those countries. One of those countries was in Cyprus, which is in the Mediterranean Sea in Europe. I was a peacekeeper there. I was in Bosnia, and there's a photograph of me with my section in an armored vehicle. And we used to drive around to make sure that people were following the rules and not fighting. And most recently, I was in Afghanistan, and I'm sure that most of you children of your age have heard about Afghanistan from your parents and on the news and then in the newspapers. Besides going to other countries that are in trouble, I also get to do a lot of world travel, which is very exciting. I've seen lots of interesting places and done things there with my training. Next slide. And there's all those red dots are different places that I've spent some time in around the world, training with the military and helping others. So it's very exciting. Also, besides going outside of Canada, I've done lots of interesting things inside Canada. One special place I was in the Northwest Territories, and it's very cold there. When that photograph was taken, it was minus 37 degrees. So Canada is a very big country that has 3 oceans around it, and there's all sorts of different places. And this is one of the most interesting places I've been to, is the Arctic. And I think all of you learn about Canada's Arctic in your classes. Sometimes in Canada, Canadians have problems as well, not usually with fighting, but with things going wrong or big storms. About 14 or 13 years ago, there was a big ice storm in eastern Ontario that did a lot of destruction. And here's a photograph of a power tower in the back that's been crushed by ice. And the Army had to go out very near Ottawa here and help a lot of people get their electricity back. I've done lots of interesting things. I've jumped out of airplanes. I'm a parachutist. Next one. I've done the changing the guard ceremony on Parliament Hill with the red coats and the big bearskin hats. That's a very exciting job, and I know children love watching that, especially the band as they march back and forth on the parade. I get to meet a lot of interesting and very important people. Here's a photograph of people in my unit with the Prime Minister, Stephen Harper. I've met lots of Governors General, and I've met the Queen. There's a photograph of a bunch of people in our unit and Her Majesty the Queen. That was a very special occasion. So that's another great part about being in the military and what I get to do. I also get to meet all kinds of Canadians from across the country that are very special and do all kinds of interesting things and do a lot of hard work with their brains and their bodies. I see there are some hands up in the crowd. I would like to ask if you hold your questions to the end, please. I'll be very happy to answer some questions at the end. Thanks. Okay, so that's a little bit of the things that I do. Why is Remembrance Day important? And why are we having this assembly? I'm sure a lot of you have had a pet die. And you remember how bad it feels and how sad you are when a pet dies. And I'm sure some of you know have had family members die and friends die, and that's also a very sad feeling, and that changes a family forever when something like that happens. Now imagine 80,000 people dying. 80,000 people. That's how many Canadian soldiers died over 40 years in the First World War, the Second World War, and the Korean War. 80,000 people. Every person in every part of Canada at that time was affected by this. And the whole country was sad, and the whole world was sad. On top of those 80,000 people who lost their lives, there were many more who were injured, losing legs, arms, and eyes. So it was a very bad time. We also remember the spirit and the bravery of those who went to fight in those wars, even though they knew they were going into danger. I know the grade 6 class, Mrs. Sayers understands this because I saw their display and their pictures about inferring outside the classroom the other day, so I know the grade 6 understand what I'm talking about here. And because we, in Canada and other countries, remember how painful these times were, we want to be at peace and help others around the world to have peace. Today, you can go to school, you can play outside, you have lots of nice toys, you have nice buildings to look at in great cities. You can make new friends, and you can dream about what you want to do in the future. We work with other friendly countries like Great Britain, Australia, America, United Nations, and a whole bunch more to help other countries around the world have peace. Canada helps to have peace around the world because it's the right thing to do. Unfortunately, there are still bad places in the world where wars are happening and fights are happening, where children like you aren't able to go to school, and you cannot be with your parents, and everything is dirty and destroyed. So, Canada still sends a small amount. Next slide, please. Canada still sends a small amount of soldiers around the world to help those countries even today. Some of them died as well, the people that are going out today. Next slide. On most days, but especially Remembrance Day, I like to remember my friend who died in Afghanistan, Kayten Auberge, while I was there. You can choose to remember anybody you want on Remembrance Day. And anytime you look at it, put on a poppy or see a poppy, you can remember the good things about that person you would like to remember on Remembrance Day or any other day of the year. You should be aware of the blessings that surround you and be thankful for your life in Canada. Although you may have problems, little problems from time to time, they are small problems compared to troubles of earlier wars and now around the world in other places. We have great communities and neighbors because of those veterans who have served in the military, and we should remember the courage it takes to build a better Canada and a better world. So let's honor our veterans and work together towards a better world where everyone can live in peace. That's the end of why Remembrance Day is important. Mr. Slack has allowed some children to ask questions now. If any of you have questions about what I do or remember this day, you can ask them now. Yes, go in the red shirt. The question was, what do the medals I wear mean? They're for different things. One is for being in Afghanistan, one is being for Cyprus, one is for being in Bosnia, like you saw the photographs there. One is for long service, good conduct. I've been in the military 28 years without getting into trouble. So that's another award. And one of them is Canada won the Nobel Prize for Peacekeeping one year. And every soldier who has done a peacekeeping mission gets to wear a symbol for that honor.